TNT Sports presents the American Sports Cavalcade. A panorama of speed, color, drama, and excitement. The American Sports Cavalcade.
In most motorsports, the essence is time and speed over distance. Be as fast or as quick as you can. Use high technology and horsepower to give you the fastest moment, the quickest time. But in one motorsport, truck and tractor pulling, it's just horsepower. As much horsepower as you make to pull as much weight as you can. Hello, I'm Paul Page, and welcome to the great state of Texas and the Houston Astrodome. You know, in its history, the stadium has seen some pretty remarkable athletic performances in professional football with the Oilers, baseball with the Astros. Those sports pit man against man. Well, not so here today. It's going to be something entirely different. For more on that story, let's go down to the stadium floor and my colleague and co-host, Steve Evans.
Well, Paul, tonight's competitors in the Astrodome won't be facing 300-pound defensive tackles or 110-mile-an-hour relief pitchers or rifle-armed quarterbacks. Every competitor has the same enemy, this animated 60,000-pound hunk of steel and lead. It's called a weight transfer device, the decision maker. It has no heart. It has no soul. It plays absolutely no favorites. And it can get tougher as the game goes on. Just move that box forward faster. It does have a coach, Ron Heckman. Ron, are you ready? Can you hold them back tonight?
Yeah, we'll hold them back. They're tough, but we'll get them.
You got plenty of lead reserve if you need it?
Oh, yeah, we got lots of extra weight. We got plenty of that.
Okay, I see a sticker up here. It says, happiness is a full pull. I think a competitor put that up there. That's not your motto.
No, somebody stuck that on some weekend a full, but it's the truth.
Okay, climb aboard. We're just about ready.
Okay, Steve, thank you.
Okay, Paul, the modified tractors coming up.
And they are giant machines, 7,200-pound modified class. It's John Heilman with Ohio Gold, who will be the test puller, the first man out.
And before Ron Hickson uses me as extra weight in the decision maker, I want to make that correction. It's not Hickman, but Hickson, a great guy and a tough sled operator.
Now, Steve, the Astrodome here tonight is full. You see some empty seats there, but that's the safety margin that they create back from the edge of the course in case something would go wrong with one of these engines. They have a crowd back just a bit, but when you look up through the stands, it is packed to the rafters here at the Houston Astrodome.
John Heilman from Rockford, Ohio. We've been following his career as long as we've been covering this sport. And this is certainly the most impressive tractor he has ever fielded. 4, count them, 4 supercharged Chevrolet-style motors. Just gobs of horsepower, but that's what it takes to get those big rear tires spinning. And that's what it takes there is wheel speed. The more wheel speed you can generate, well, generally, the further you're going to pull that sled. The full distance in the Astrodome tonight for this class is 300 feet, the length of a football field.
573 cubic inches in each of the 4 engines, 2 of them inline, and then 2 of them plugged in sideways. You can imagine what the shaft horsepower is going to the rear wheels. Those giant blowers providing that much more power as we take a look head on to one of the sideways mounted engines. Now the trick here is to keep the machine balanced. Not just the horsepower and how much you can dig in those rear wheels, but how you can keep the machine balanced as it goes down the course. The full pull distance, you see it at 300 feet. The test puller, John Heilman.
And by test puller, we're saying that after witnessing this pull, TNT officials can re-weight the sled and start the class over. Heilman would get another shot. Oh, this is a picture-perfect pull. What a performance right out of the box. The crowd looking on in just sheer wonderment at that power.
And you couldn't ask for it to be any more perfect. Heilman with a full pull. He's run the entire 300-foot distance. So that's now the mark everyone else has to shoot against. should someone else exceed the 300-foot mark, then we'll have a pull-off. And we see that time and time again in the TNT competition. Now, let's take a look at this run because it's definitely an example of how to get it done. He pours the power in, gets those back wheels spinning with traction, and hovers that front end just above the ground. The balance here near perfect. He set the weights on the front just where they needed to be, and then regulated the brakes to the rear wheels to keep the front end just off of the ground. Steve?
Well, a conference going on down here between TNT and John Heilman. They're actually getting his opinion, I think, is how he feels the sled should be weighted. What's the story, John?
Well, I think it was a good run. There's good equipment back there. I feel right now with the field we got, the best in the country, you're going to see about 3 or 4 out the gate. I don't think it'll be any more than that. They may reset the sled, but I think things are pretty close. I had to wait on it a little bit, but...
All right, here's what they're going to do. I just heard on the radio. That's a full pull, but they're going to look at one more pull and then maybe reanalyze the situation.
That sounds like a good idea, Steve. I think that's the right thing to do. TNT's pretty sharp, you know that? Them boys out there call their shots. I think they got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nice to see the officials conferring with the competitors, huh, Paul?
Well, Steve, the next competitor will be John Powell on the red tractor. So the officials are going to take a look at him. And, yeah, they do have a good report, Steve. Constantly staying in communication to make sure that the competition is good, is honest and fair, and provides the best possible show.
And had it been an unknown quantity, a rookie who was the test puller and he took it out the back door, well, then the thinking would be a little different. But it's never a surprise when Heilman can get the job done, or this man, John Powell, for that matter. His hands in the air to signify to the TNT crew working in the vicinity that he's not going to touch anything till the hookup is made.
Safety, always a concern in any form of motorsport. The TNT people are right in there as well. Plenty of safety measures at the back of the machine to make sure that it won't pull loose, to make sure that one of the officials working at the back of the tractors don't get caught back there.
And you can see on the superchargers the restraint straps. You can see those chrome shields around the blower belt. They just take no chances with this kind of ornery machine. You can't do it. All right. They're just looking right now to have a clear surface. They do, and it's time for John Powell. He's got to get it out the back door if he's going to compete with Heilman on this day.
He pulls off a little bit slow, then the rear wheels begin to spin, but the front end stayed nicely pinned to the ground, riding just where it should. Now it comes up just a little bit high as those Keith Black engines strain a little bit. John Powell, the red tractor, and we wait now for the measurement on this machine.
Paul, he has missed it. He has missed it by 2 feet approximately, 298.76. This sport is turning into a sport of inches, and it used to be yards.
So just a tick short of the full pull for John Powell. We take a look here. You can see how the front of the machine starts to pull up off the ground, and now it begins to bounce. And when it bounces, it eats away at your traction and your power. He's trying to keep it down. You can see one hand manipulating the brakes of the machine, but it just doesn't get the job done. So now, on board the decision maker, Ron Hickson, trying to decide what they're going to do. Are they going to change the weight? They're going to change the speed at which the weight comes forward. A decision yet to be made by the officials. But they are definitely huddled and working on it now. And there is Barb Piper as she pours some of that alcohol fuel into the engine of her husband's machine. The machine is the Pied Piper. Mike Piper is, in fact, the driver as it begins to kick fire. And now they tell us the sled is official. So the only man with a full pull is John Heilman. They'll count his full 300-foot distance. Steve?
Well, John, good news and bad news. You had a nice pull of 298. The bad news, the sled is declared official. So the only one so far will get a pull off if it happens is Heilman.
Well, we thought we was going to get out with it there for a minute. The starting line was a little bit slick, but we're pretty tickled with that run.
So Mike Piper now take his shot at the course. The full pull distance of 300 feet is the mark he's shooting at. The Pied Piper backing up. Keith Black engines in line on board this, 557 cubic inches for each one of them.
And he hails from Illinois, Mount Vernon to be exact, and with his hands in the air as everybody will. And here you see some of the safety at the rear of the tractor as they put that great big hook, they call it hooking, That's the terminology in the sport. You see that light on? That tells that gentleman that that tractor's in neutral and it's not going to go forwards or backwards on him. That's a ticklish position to be in down there. Mike Piper has all of his engines in line. There's Barb looking on. Now, we noticed with the engines plugged in from the side, there was no chassis flux whatsoever, Paul. It just came down straight and screw. Now, watch the difference with 3 inline motors. Sometimes you'll see the torque try to twist the machine in half or try to flip it over. Boy, Barb is pushing him home.
He's got a nice run going as he twists the wheel back and forth, hoping to have the wheel set for every time it hits the ground. Barb's loving the run, and look, and he's right up on the line. Now they measure the distance to the front of the sled itself. The crowd loved this one as the Pied Piper, Mike Piper with a full pull. So already we've got a pull-off in the 7,200-pound modified class. 2 men have made it beyond the full pull distance. We take a look, and there's what Steve was talking about. You can see the torque of the engines trying to twist the whole machine upside down. And he drifts dangerously close to the sideline. If he'd gotten the tractor over, he would have been disqualified right there.
Boy, Mike, a terrific full pull, but a little scary there at the end.
Yeah, she started leading on me hard left, and I had to get on the brake awful hard and lost a lot of momentum in the track, but she just got down in there and bit a little harder and stayed with me for just a little bit to get me out. Pat her on the head a little bit. They will take care of you.
There was a moment there when you thought, maybe not.
Yeah, I had my doubts there for a little bit.
What will you do to get it to go straighter in the pull-off?
Well, I'll try. I think the track's going to turn around quite a bit. Looks like it's going to dry out. I think it probably may get better.
All right, see you then.
Thank you.
Mike Piper joins John Heilman in the pull-off, but there are plenty other competitors with a possibility. Well, look at this man, Pat Friels, the driver of the Dollar Devil. The 7,200-pound modified tractors are roaring out in the Astrodome. We'll be back with more.
100-pound modified tractor competition continues, and this is Pat Friels on Dollar Devil, and he knows what he has to do to get top prize tonight, Paul. He's got to make a full pull, cover all 300 feet.
And 300 feet is the distance. John Heilman and Mike Piper have both pulled 300 feet, so we definitely have a pull-off. Now, the competition is to see who else might join in that pull-off. Once again, these 7,200-pound modified tractors are some real engineering marvels. As Pat Friels takes the slack up in the chain, the green light tells him that he can go anytime he wants. Engines plugged in from all kinds of directions.
A very contemporary tractor. You see his gloved hand on the throttle. His feet are very busy doing a dance on the individual rear brakes. About half the steering is actually done with the rear brakes. And here, without much wheel speed, goes Mike Friels. This does not look that good, Paul. The balance isn't there either.
Balance is a key factor, and when the machine starts bouncing, it's transferring weight backwards and forwards. You don't have a whole lot of control, and you definitely don't have very much traction. So for Pat Friels, 273 feet, about 27 feet short of the full pull distance. Let's take a look at this run just once more. Now, Friels has got the throttle in his right hand, and he's laying the power in, trying to manipulate the rear around where he wants it. Now, it begins to get away from him and then slams down. And that action kicks it back up in the air again, and it begins to bounce with little chance of saving it. Steve?
Well, Pat, we got the distance measured at 273.
Yeah, we're a little short. Looks like we had a front motor go dead on his magneto. That's the way it goes. Sometimes you get a dog, sometimes it gets you.
And today, Pat Friels was gone. Well, Dave Banner on Fox is our next puller.
No question, Dave Banner is the most renowned tractor puller of them all. And this is a brand new machine that has eyes popping in the grandstands and out of the parking lot pit area. Earlier, I had a chance to take a look at what is truly the most unique tractor to come along in this sport. Well, really since the origin of the sport.
Now, here is an interesting concept. Right where the driver should sit in a modified tractor is a supercharged Chevrolet engine. Well, this is the latest design from the famed Banter brothers. In fact, a 32nd multi-engine tractor designed and built by Ralph Banter. Now, he said the problem was, as they kept adding engines, the front end was getting so heavy they couldn't properly balance the tractor. He wanted 6 engines in this new machine, and he thought, well, I'll worry about where to put my brother, driver Dave, after I get the design right. So, right where Dave used to sit, he put an engine. Now, another engine can go right here. In full battle dress, outdoor pulls, it will have 6 motors. That's one. That's 2. Here's 3. There's 4. And now on the front end can clip on 5 and 6. The output shaft of one just going into the input shaft of the other. And all of this horsepower is funneled back through this massive drive unit here. All kinds of gears and pulleys and chains and everything, funneling all that power to the differential. And he got all done. He said, Dave, what do I do with Dave? Well, he had 2 choices. Put him out on the front axle. Dave wasn't buying that. Or put him outboard on the right-hand side. And Dave said it's an odd feeling because he's used to sitting right at the fulcrum point. When the front end came up, he didn't have any sensation at all. He could just do whatever he had to do to drive it. Now, as the front end comes up, he rises with it, kind of like going up in an elevator. And he said it's going to take some getting used to. Only the second night out for this tractor.
Well, balance is such a critical factor. The seat in that position, if he can actually feel it that much better, he may definitely have an advantage. Dave Banner, the machine is the boss.
And look at his feet. Seldom do we get that. In fact, we never get that good a look at how the driver sits in the tractor just because of the unique location. Oh, and look at this pull. He is completely out of control. Will the chassis be up to this abuse? Banner doesn't want to give up. He's trying to learn this new machine. It gives up for him.
Well, the Banner brothers, maybe with a little reconsideration of part of design, because it certainly got away from Dave Banner. He reaches down now and begins to unhook himself. The balanced a critical situation, and it began to bounce all over the place. Let's see if we can analyze this just a little bit.
But let's remember, in this 7,200-pound class, they don't have those front motors out there to keep it down. Maybe in the more weighted class, it could be a lot more successful.
Well, they have the weights. You can see them wiggling back and forth in the front. They can add or subtract those as needed, and it sure looks like they could have added a couple of them as he fights to try to keep the thing on the ground and point it straight. But at this point in the run, it was a losing battle for Dave Banner. 244 feet.
I'm not sure I know what to say to Dave Banner because I have never seen a pull quite like that one.
I'm not getting my weight balanced right yet. I'm trying to move my motors around, trying to get it right. I don't have her right yet. I don't know what I'm going to have to do. I think I'm going to have to get some more weight on the front yet.
Anything to do with sitting in this odd location?
Yeah, I put that 900 pounds back here, and that's really made a whole different ballgame out of this. I get her right, she'll be right.
Well, when you see the video, the first thing you're going to do is have your brother Ralph check every weld in this chassis. It was twisting like a bungee cord.
Yeah, I know, it's twisted up quite a bit.
Thanks. Brand new machine. He'll get it right.
I still haven't gotten the weight right. What an understatement, Dave Banner. Now here comes Twin Allison power plants on the River Rat. Wayne Longnecker's the driver.
Well, Allisons have been around the pulling sport forever because they make so much torque and low-end torque, and that's what you need to pull a great big sled like Decision Maker. But lately, they have proven to be, well, a little bit vulnerable as more and more engines are added of automotive type. And as you know, Paul, they're hard to work on and hard to find parts for. But here's a guy dedicated to keeping them alive in this class, and he's very competitive.
Well, the Allison engine with 12 cylinders and 1,710 cubic inches actually goes back a long, long way to the fighter planes of the Second World War. And as more and more racers use them up in whatever form of competition they're used in, not just here, but unlimited hydroplanes for years use the fighter aircraft engine. Well, now they're running out of parts. Nobody's fabricating anymore, and the newer equipment is just that much more efficient.
Well, here's a couple of motors that don't know they're near 50 years of age. Look at this pull for Wayne Longnecker. Uh-oh, suddenly the tractor veers to his right, and that's going to cost him some distance.
Well, it comes to a stop pretty quickly, as is the normal procedure here in the 7,200-pound modified class. 277 feet, not nearly enough. Again, we have two men who have pulled the full distance at 300 feet, John Heilman and Mike Piper. There you see the distances to this point, and the first two men will definitely go to a pull-off. The question is, who else may in fact join them?
Well, there's only two competitors left that can try to join this exclusive club of Heilman and Piper. And don't you know that Ron Hickson, as he guides Decision Maker back, is already thinking about the changes he's going to make to stop him in the pull-off. Evil man.
With Steve Evans, and you're looking at Dave Walsh as he sits atop his machine, a 7,200-pound modified tractor called the Irish Challenger. Now, Steve Evans is a man who loves things mechanical. Maybe he just likes getting his hands dirty more than anything else. And earlier, he took a look at this machine.
You're looking at Dave Walsh's Irish Challenger. And on the surface, anyway, it doesn't appear to be that unique. We've seen this configuration before. 2 engines on the left, 2 engines on the right, and a 5th engine, when necessary for the unlimited class, can be bolted right here. The inherent problem with this kind of a design has been the engine torque. The engines all turning in the same direction would twist the tube frame to the breaking point, hiking the left front wheel high in the air, bearing the right one in the dirt. All in all, not a good situation for competitive pulls. Dave has solved that problem. These engines run backwards, so the torque is applied equally to the left and to the right. And it's really not all that difficult. You have the camshaft ground backwards, you make a few oiling changes to the crankshaft, and for sure, you change the gears inside the blower drive, so the blower is blowing instead of sucking air. Another interesting thing here, look how these engines are mounted right down here. They're not mounted, really. They are an integral part of the entire chassis, one stiff unit. $200,000 worth of engineering expertise, a masterpiece, and a favorite at the Astrodome.
A little bit of monocoque construction, and of course, in theory, with the engines turning in opposition, then everything ought to stay nice, smooth, and level. We'll find out if it really works here in just a moment, because Dave Walsh is ready with the Irish Challenger, and already he pulls the power, front end staying on the ground, and it looks like the theory works fine in practice. A nice even pull. The 4 motors continue to pull, and without any question, across the line, a full pull at 300 feet for Dave Walsh.
Well, I tell you, the ingenuity in this sport really pays off for a guy like Dave Walsh who has the courage to try something new. Look at this machine work.
Nice and smooth. Again, the engines on each side turning against one another, and so they're keeping the machine running level and easy, and he's got the front end perfectly balanced as he roars his way to a full pull.
Well, Dave, they ought to show that piece of tape right there in truck pulling school. It was perfect.
As the track is kind of tricky out there. I went up a gear. So you ain't digging down very far. You stay on top, and you got, I think I have a fast gear for this track.
You may have some imitators real quick.
I think.
Well, Ron Hickson's got to be thinking about that one and what he can do now with 3 men in the pull-off. The question is, will the next man, the driver of the Texas Flash, and there he is, Don Nelson, join those 3?
Don Nelson of Cat Springs, Texas, is the final competitor with a shot at joining that very exclusive pull-off club. He's glancing back there to make sure the hook is complete, get the slack out of the chain. And I was noticing with Dave Walsh, he never had the throttles all the way open to almost 3/4 of the way down the track. So there's such a thing as applying too much power too soon.
Texas Flash, 7,200-pound modified tractor. As he spins the rear wheel, he can't get that front end off the ground. He doesn't have quite the balance he wants yet. Now it comes off as he continues to roar with the power. The throttle's fully open, and he comes up just a bit short of the line. Just a bit short for Don Nelson in the Texas Flash. 292.72 feet, not the 300 that he would have needed to go into the pull-off.
In the replay, keep your eyes on the butterflies in the fuel injectors, those red, round 9 holes there, and you'll see how long it is before full throttle.
He laid off the throttle for a good part of the distance. You can still see not nearly open as he's trying to get the machine balanced, and what he really needs a little more power. There he opens the throttles. The front end comes up, but too late. Already the weight of the decision maker is beginning to bear down. He tries to fight it, but the fight comes too late, and he pulls up short at 292 feet.
Well, Don, for a second, I thought these Texas fans were going to shout you across that line, but not quite.
No, not quite tonight. I believe we could have used a little more gear.
What do you learn from something like that? You file that away in your memory bank. The next time you see a track like this, you'll be more informed as to what to do?
Yes, I think so. The track was a little greasy tonight, especially down in the hole. And, you know, we had to kind of drive it out. And I got down here and finally got hooked, but then I had too many RPM. And it kind of was unhooking and hooking and unhooking.
So close. Good job.
Thank you.
Don Nelson went to full throttle just a little bit too late. So he doesn't make it into the pull-off, but the top 3 men on the leaderboard do. Heilman, Piper, and Walsh, all with a 300-foot full pull. And on the decision maker, they'll decide what they're going to do to try and slow those boys down. Coming up next, it's the Monster Trucks as Mad Dog and John Breen at the wheel comes out to accept the challenge. We'll be back with Monster Truck Racing right after this. All-American. I'm Paul Page with Steve Evans, and you're taking a look at Awesome Kong, one of the most highly modified of these monster trucks that the crowd here in Houston absolutely adores. And the driver of this machine, driving for the first time tonight, is Texas' own Mark Brandt. And he will be facing the Mad Dog, being driven by John Breen of Jefferson City, Missouri.
You have probably already figured out that in monster truck racing, body rules are few and far between. And that's a good thing, because the originality is just tremendous. Take a look at Mad Dog, huh? A great-looking Chevrolet Roadster pickup, complete with a wing on top. Safety rules, though, are getting tougher and tougher. We showed you a lot of new innovations a year ago. We'll take a look at a couple of new ones this year. Every truck must now be fitted with a full steel roll cage in case of upset. The driver strapped in that roll cage must be in full Nomex driving costume, just like a road racer or a stock car racer. But there's one other thing that I am really impressed with. Every truck now has a radio-controlled shutoff switch. You see the device right there with the antenna on it. Behind each truck, as they compete, is an official, each with a radio for each lane. If that truck driver should be knocked unconscious, if the truck is for any reason deemed to be a threat to the safety of the driver or others, the official pushes a button and shuts the truck off. You see the red light on the receiver. That is just a tremendous concept for safety, especially in these short indoor arenas. It might just keep Mad Dog from accidentally driving over a Ford sooner or later.
And it speaks to the concepts of safety that all of the officials with TNT constantly observe. So Mad Dog, ready to face Awesome Kong. And Awesome Kong, look at that, look how narrow this particular machine is. Highly modified.
Oh, yeah, if you don't make a rule, these guys will take advantage of every opportunity to build unique vehicles, but that's what it's all about. And they're off on a very unique course. A couple of jumps here and then on to the crushed cars. The most interesting part of the course, Paul, is the hairpin they're coming up to.
Well, Mark Brandt, closest to the screen here in Awesome Kong, gets there first, though he was almost off the edge of the course on the first straightaway. He gets around that corner in fine shape now, and Awesome Kong, Mark Brandt, scores the win, no problem at all. Well, he sure didn't look like a rookie driver in that run. Came around that corner with no problem. Take a look here. That's the Awesome Kong on the right-hand side of your screen. And using the four-wheel steering, pitched it right around the corner and headed down the straightaway. Steve?
I heard you yelling at the crew. Something wrong?
We blew the O-ring out of the tire, and we're losing some air, but we're going to get it in the pit and get the O-ring back in. We're going to be back in, run again.
We can make it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to hold you up. Get going.
Thank you.
All right, well, Awesome Kong moves ahead to the semifinal round. Now, there's 6 trucks in this round of competition as we watch Bigfoot come out. So the quick loser out of this round will also go to the semi to even the numbers. Bigfoot, Andy Brass is the driver, ready for his run. Now there's another man here in the stadium that absolutely loves trucks. And earlier, Steve ran into it.
Paul, only a couple of times a year are you and I privileged to hang around beautiful iron like this truck here on the floor of the Astrodome. But an old friend of ours, Ed Bruce, the original host of American Sports Cavalcade, is making kind of a semi-career out of trucks. As you may know, his new show on TNN, Truckin' USA, is making a big splash. Congratulations. It looks great.
Thank you, partner. How you doing? Hey, it's good to see you.
Okay, what are you doing here?
Well, we're here for the same reason you are, covering this TNT event.
What can we expect in the next shows of Truckin' USA?
Well, we're traveling all around the country, kind of a hillbilly Charles Corral, you know, and doing some performance ads. We're going to do some off-road racing. We're doing some old truck museums. Have seen some fantastic trucks at these old truck museums. And meeting some interesting characters that just, you know, people send in their custom trucks, and we've seen some great trucks.
A little travelogue to boot?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, great, fantastic scenery. We're in Sedona in the Red Rock country, and just beautiful.
Well, best of luck to you.
Thank you, buddy. Good to see you.
Ed Bruce and Truckin' USA. Tune in on Sports Sundays on TNN.
If you love trucks, it's a show to watch. If you love the monster trucks, we'll take a look at the Carolina Crusher, ready to face Bigfoot.
And nobody has to tell Gary Porter what a task that can be. Gary from Wadesboro, North Carolina, and he's up against, well, the most popular monster truck of them all. This one being driven by Andy Brass. I say this one because there are 10 Bigfoot trucks on any given weekend competing all over the country. Owner Bob Chandler has created a true phenomenon, and nobody is more dedicated to safety than Chandler and leadership as this competition gets more serious.
It has to give Andy Brass a psychological advantage over the Carolina Crusher in the near lane. Gary Porter's got to be thinking about all the research, all of the technology that goes into that machine. Green light. Both machines come off the line. The Bigfoot in the far lane picks up a slight advantage on the first straight. Carolina Crusher cocks off to the side just a little bit, tries to get around the corner using all of the brakes and the four-wheel steer. But now, Bigfoot with a very definite advantage.
Apparently, the Crusher had some driveline problems as he tried to execute that turn. And look at Bigfoot. What a showy leap to finish off this victory and move to the semifinal round. Andy Brass and Bigfoot, always a very reliable truck. Not so some of the competition. They may be a little more powerful sometimes, but reliability is the problem.
Gary Porter in the Crusher had his problems here, got all the way off the edge of the course trying to get it to come around. And then as he tried to chase Bigfoot down, well, there was no catching the high-leaping Bigfoot, as it was Andy Brass with the victory.
Well, Paul, we have climbed our trusty ladder to find out if Bigfoot has any fallen arches. It sure doesn't look like it, Andy.
Looks like we're going to be doing pretty good tonight. You know, I'm trying to stay with it and everything. Cars are getting beat down flat, and everybody's been running pretty good.
I think that was the altitude record, though, over the last set of cars for tonight, anyway.
Yeah, and I just got lined up with it pretty good, you know, and it was looking good. I thought, well, I might as well go for it.
Indeed, you always go for it.
Yeah, we try.
You know, I noticed you're wearing this brace right here. Tell us about it.
This here's one of the shoulder straps, you know. It's just, I wear a 4-point seat harness with me, and this is just part of it.
Okay, see you in the semi.
I hope so.
Andy Brass and Bigfoot moves ahead to the semifinal round. Take a look at the cars. With all the action tonight, they're definitely getting crushed down. We'll be back with more. Way up to the rafters, and they're enjoying the tractor pulling and the monster truck racing, as well as the occasional exhibition vehicle.
The front wheel of any old all-terrain cycle, right? Well, not exactly. An ATC for Paul Bunyan or the Jolly Green Giant, maybe. I'll tell you, this is a one-off exhibition vehicle. The Thunderous Cyclops, an ATC that weighs 8,300 pounds, is 10 feet from the ground to the tip of the handlebar and is powered by a 1,200 horsepower supercharged Keith Black racing engine. And as you may know, I have sat in some pretty bizarre vehicles. But you know, once you settle down inside the old Klops, the controls are pretty comfortable. They're very typical of any pulling vehicle. The steering is pretty unique. As you might imagine, it's a little hard to reach the handlebars. So Clifford Smith, the owner, engineer, and builder, you hear that little motor running in the background? That's an 1,100cc Honda Shadow gas engine. It powers a hydraulic system. Look at this, okay? I'm just turning a typical little steering wheel in here. The front wheel goes round and round. But there's one other obstacle to controlling the Klops. That is, you can't see a darn thing out of it. So what Clifford has done, the computer-operated headlight up front has a video camera built in. Pretty sneaky, huh? Here's the monitor right here. Shows you the clear track ahead. No problem whatsoever. You know, if you'd like to have one of these, do just what Clifford did. Invest about 4,500 man-hours, a lot of imagination, and get a great big second trustee on your house.
Well, it looks great, but how is it as a puller? Well, let's take a look, because there's the Cyclops and young Cliff Smith. That's Clifton, Clifford's son, and he's going to take it for a shot down the course.
Now, they've got the Cyclops hooked to the decision maker, and certainly that'd be a lot of power for most competitive machines, but not in this sport. We've seen tractors with as many as 4 engines bigger than that. So young Clifton has got his work cut out for him if he's to pull that big hunk of iron, steel, and lead.
New concept, new idea. This could open up a whole new realm of tractor pulling. Let's see if Cliff Smith can get her down the course as he powers her up. Begins a pretty good pull here. The back wheel's digging in, the front end way up in the air. Balance a bit of a problem. Now he slams it down. The sled kind of gives it a kick. Ooh. Back to the drawing board. Maybe he had that television screen tuned up to the wrong channel. Is that possible?
Well, one thing's for sure, everybody, especially the kids in the audience here at the Astrodome, got a real kick out of seeing the Thunderous Cyclops. What a piece. I'll tell you, talking about exciting machines, well, look at this beautiful monster truck, maybe the prettiest one of them all, Nightlife 2. And you know, the horsepower is incredible, but so is the weight, topping 30,000 pounds. And look at all of the shock absorbers underneath Nightlife 2. On some of them, I have counted, Paul, as many as 40 shock absorbers, just trying to keep these things all in one piece. Clydesdale, another supercharged Chevrolet, makes somewhere around 1,000 horsepower. As you mentioned earlier, they have four-wheel steering. The rear wheel steer is separate from the front, hydraulically operated from the cockpit. And one of the finest drivers is Bennett Clark. He's been monster truck racing as long as there's been such a category, from Georgia. Up against Dave Wazorek in the Nightlife 2 from Grand Island, Nebraska. Also a very accomplished driver. And don't think it doesn't take talent to wheel one of these machines, especially now that they're no longer just exhibition, crushing a few cars as a promotional gimmick. This is serious motorsports competition.
And just like any motorsports, balance, coordination, a little bit of guts, and some daring. Nightlife 2 gets to the corner first. Bennett Clark trying to close the distance, but it's Nightlife 2 that's onto the second straightaway. Begins to accelerate now. Nice big jump into the air, presses a few cars. It's a little off balance, but no question about the victory here. It goes to Nightlife 2 without any question over Bennett Clark.
And the secret to the victory again for Nightlife 2 is hugging that berm in tight. It's a short wheelbase truck. He can get away with that.
Clark got to the corner a little bit late. Nightlife 2 back to the second group of cars, way up in the air. The crowd loved it. And it is Dave Wazorek that comes home with the victory in Nightlife 2.
Well, Dave, I don't know if that wind got you pumped up, but this crowd went wild. Tremendous.
Well, I've got a pretty good run going for me, and I'm running in the right lane, so I'm just going to keep it going and do the best again.
You know, it would appear to be one of the secrets, obviously, is making a smooth turn at the end and not scrubbing off too much speed.
It is. It's trying to get around that corner without losing control of your truck, and it's a tough thing to do when you're running two things at one time. It's like running your head and your stomach at the same time.
That meaning front wheel steering and rear wheel steering.
That's right, yeah. It takes a lot of coordination to get it around that corner and get straightened out for them cars.
Well, you did it that time like the pro you are.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, so the stage is set for the semifinal run in monster truck competition here in the Astrodome. Awesome Kong will take on Nightlife 2. And in the second part of the semifinal, Bigfoot will face Clydesdale 2. Now, you just saw Clydesdale 2 lose, but it will go in as a result of being the quickest loser.
Well, the fellas involved in the 7,200-pound modified pull-off better tune up their motors, because Ron Hickson and crew are loading up the sled.
Ready for the pull-off in the 7,200-pound modified tractors. Heilman, Piper, and Walsh all exceeded the 300-foot full pull distance. Now they've loaded a whole bunch more weight onto the sled, the decision maker. And first to take the challenge will be Ohio Gold and John Heilman.
Look at Ron Hickson. Is he confident? He thinks he can stop them before they get to that back door, that there'll be no full pulls in the pull-up. And he probably is right, because they have really gone for broke with the sled. I don't think, Paul, you can pick a favorite among the three. They both did such a fine job earlier on.
No, among the three, Heilman, Piper, Walsh, all had really excellent runs. And Heilman, the Ohio Gold, the machine we look at this moment, who really had it under control all the way down. Again, this is one of those machines that has engines plugged in from the side, and that takes some of the problems of torquing the frame around away.
Now, if there's an experience edge, it's got to go to Heilman. He has been doing this as a professional for a good long time. Here is Heilman. You can see his left hand is on that throttle, easing into it a bit. Now he's got it wide open. An impressive pull considering the weight. And look at that box move. It's transferring much quicker and finally brings Ohio Gold to its knees, but not after Heilman has covered the course at 274.35 feet.
That, of course, will be the mark for the pull-off. John Heilman with really a picture-perfect run. It went very well. And watch how casually he sits up there. Now, he's controlling the rear wheels with the brakes and keeping the front end nicely balanced and down on the ground. And as a result, 274.35 feet. Really very, very nice run. Only starts to drift over just at the last, but he keeps it neatly under control and runs it straight down the course.
Well, for John Heilman, 274 feet and change, that's a pretty challenging distance.
I think that'll kick them all.
Really?
If they beat that, they beat my best, Steve. I mean, I feel it was perfect. Hey, if they beat that, they're better than I am. I don't think they are.
You know, the one I'd be worried about is Dave Walsh, the Irish Challenger.
Yes, he's a super driver. I think a horsepower is going to kill him. I think we got him.
All right, well, you stay here with me. We'll find out.
Hang around and see, Steve. Thank you.
John Heilman, one happy man. Now we take a look at Mike Piper as he backs up the Pied Piper. His wife, Barbara, big family affair, as it is almost all the way through TNT tractor pulling. He keeps track of all the details of each run so she can plug that back into the equation when they decide to change a design or some concept on the machine. The distance to beat, 274 feet for Mike Piper. Let's go down to Steve Evans.
Okay, Mike Piper about to hook. John, what do you think? He barely got it out, by the way. Barely made a full pull.
Very strong tractor, but I think it'll come up about 10 feet short. I don't think the three areas are going to compete with 4 Rodaks tonight. He's as good a driver as I am, but I think I outdid him this time.
Well, Barb watches on as Mike Piper on board the Pied Piper fires up those engines and begins to concentrate on the challenge that lies ahead. Now, unlike the Ohio Gold, the Pied Piper has all the machine's engines in a row, and that'll twist and torque the frame just a little bit. You saw a little bit of oil blow-by on the bottom of the engine. No problem there. That's normal. Now, the power beginning to be applied. Barb watches. John Heilman watches. He continues to cruise. Mike Piper with a good run. Let's go down to Steve once again.
Oh, boy.
That's close.
It sure is.
I can't tell from here. That's close.
Okay, let's go to Ball Page. Ball?
Well, they're going to have to double check here the measurement, but boy, it looks like we've got a challenge afoot here to the 274-foot run that John Heilman pulled off with the first run of the pull-off. We take a look, not too much torque. He is really controlling the power perfectly here. The start of this run is just as nice as Heilman's was, but then a little bit of a bounce, and each one of those bounces is subtracting inches and then ultimately feet away from the run itself. Now they report the distance out at 272.34, just a skosh short of John Heilman's run. Heilman is still in the lead, so let's go back to Steve.
272, you're 274.
Oh, I got him 2 feet. Great, great.
Oh, far.
But Walsh is going to be hard on us. And Walsh is going to have to drive, but it's going to be risky.
Okay, well, we can see one of the problems over on Mike Piper's tractor. In fact, let's wander over. There is Mike and his wife, Barb. Barb, there's the problem that cost you maybe the pull-off.
Yeah, it looks like it very well could have.
Broken floor belt.
That close it looked like, but that's enough.
2 feet, just about that close. I know you're disappointed, but a great job.
Oh, yeah. I'm not, with 3 against 4, I'm not dissatisfied at all.
I'm sure you're not, but I think Mike looks a little more dissatisfied than Barb.
Oh, sure. No problem there.
Floor belt came off it. Did you see it?
I heard it detonate, and I thought it was going to. I missed the hook back here about 75 foot. I knew it wasn't going to go no place. I shot her down on, took the motors way upstairs, and they leaned down on me a little bit. Second run, indoors, you know.
John Heilman was down here, and you had his eyes real big.
Yeah, I bet he was.
Well, attention now shifts to the other end of the course, the starting line, and the Irish Challenger, the final competitor in this pull-off, Dave Walsh. Remember, this machine has the engines where one side's running normal direction, the other side opposite direction, keeping the whole machine balanced out. Distance to beat, you see it there, 274 feet, and it belongs to John Heilman.
Well, Mike Piper gave you quite a fright. Now, well, you tell us, the Irish Challenger.
Well, I hate to say it, Mike Piper scared me silly. You know, better than I thought. After his run, I think maybe Walsh got at least a 80% chance to get me. I didn't think so when I run, but I hope he don't do it, but I sure hope he don't.
Well, Dave Walsh has had the opportunity to take a good look at the circuit ahead of this particular run.
Okay, John, what do you think?
We got it!
John Heilman did the job.
We got it!
Yep, you did indeed get it. Congratulations. You knew it when you heard those motors start to miss.
As soon as I saw the smoke starting to come up, I knew he was in trouble. I hate to beat a man when he has engine problems, but that's the name of the game. You got to get him any way you can get him.
All right, John Heilman, one of the true professionals. Again, congratulations. Tough class, and he won it.
What a study in contrast. The disappointment of Dave Walsh, the joy of John Heilman. Walsh with 233 feet, not nearly the distance needed. John Heilman wins with 274.35 in the 7,200-pound modified tractor pull-off. Terrific action here in the TNT Redman All-American at the Houston Astrodome. Now, let's go back down to the far end. Steve Evans is with Dave Walsh, the driver of the Irish Challenger.
Well, Dan, I know you went to the hookup with an awful lot of confidence.
Yeah, I did, but the second motor here, something happened. The magneto or something went bad on it.
You know, I was down there with John Heilman, and he said, I've got it. As soon as he saw that one of those motors went sour.
Yeah, because when you lose one motor, you just lose everything. Might as well quit right there.
Well, the rest of the motors are having to support it.
What's that?
The rest of the motors have to support it.
Yeah, it's just that when that one motor quits, one ahead of it has to turn it, plus drive the drivetrain. It's kind of hard to do that.
Well, I can tell you, we sure enjoyed looking at this unique machine. Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, mechanical problems takes Dave Walsh out of the action, and John Heilman wins it. But there's still more action here to come from the Houston Astrodome. It's the Monster Truck semifinals coming up next as Awesome Kong makes his appearance on the floor of the dome.
All-American, the semifinals of monster truck action, and quite a contrast between these two, Paul. One driver with lots of experience, the other one a rookie, and already look at the fan support for Mark Brandt and Awesome Kong.
And what a terrific machine it is, too. Totally fabricated, nice, narrow. They push the rules just as far as they can, but can they handle the tremendous power and experience represented in Nightlife 2? There's Dave Wazorek leaning out of the cab, checking his position, raises his hand, tells the TNT officials he's ready to go racing. The crowd anticipating a tremendous fight here, too, in the semifinal round.
Wazorek has been better off the mark than has been Brandt. Maybe that's just experience or being very cool. Together they leave. A great start.
Pretty good lead for both of them. Awesome Kong gets a little bit in the air coming off the first bump. Now kicks out some smoke, but comes to the corner even. Nightlife 2, first up and over the hump as Awesome Kong gets a little sideways coming off the bump.
Nightlife 2 scrubbed up a lot of speed, making that tight turn, and it proves to be his demise. And the crowd in the Astrodome loves the wild style of the newcomer, Mark Brandt.
So Mark Brandt scores the victory and goes into the final round over the veteran Nightlife 2, Dave Wazorek. Here is the first jump over the cars. He does some serious crushing there. Almost does a little crushing to the nose of Awesome Kong. A little further down the course as they come to the turn itself. They're dead even to that point. But look at how good Mark gets the Awesome Kong around and gets it pointed straight first. That's really the key, because as soon as it's pointed straight, he can accelerate, and that proves to be the difference between victory and defeat.
Oh, Paul, I'm out of breath watching that one. In only his second ever monster truck competition, Mark, you're headed for the finals. Unbelievable.
I'm really excited. I think I can do it. I'm very confident in this truck. I built the truck. I'm overwhelmed. I've got the power. I think I can do it.
You know, I thought maybe Dave was going to beat you on experience. He made that turn so well, but you got him on power.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I think that Awesome Kong is the only thing that's going for Mark Brandt.
I don't know about that. A lot of nerve in you, my friend.
Thank you.
See you in the final round.
And a wave of anticipation sweeps across this crowd as the Ford Bigfoot makes its appearance here on the floor of the Houston Astrodome. Andy Brass, the driver. One magnificent machine with plenty of victories to its credit. Earlier, Steve Evans took a look at the magnificent Bigfoot and its engineering design.
Why is Bigfoot a 4x4x4? Well, it has four wheels. It has four-wheel drive, and it has four-wheel steering. The rear wheels steer as well as the front. Now, that actually was initiated by Bob Chandler, one of the original Bigfoots back in, about 1976. They all have it now, all the monster trucks. It would be impossible for them to negotiate the tight turns we'll see in the Astrodome tonight without it. Now, here, it's really pretty simple. There's an electrical pump that operates a hydraulic system to the rear wheels. The rear wheel steering is not connected to the steering wheel in any manner. This simple little hardware stored toggle switch right here. Push it back, it steers left. Push it forward, and it steers right. He has to be careful, though, to not hit this toggle switch, because that raises the hood hydraulically, and that could be very embarrassing. Also, the rear wheel steer has to be used with a certain amount of discretion, only in the tighter turns, maybe once in a while in a straightaway to straighten out the truck. But give it any significant steer at high speed in a straight line, and Bob Chandler tells me that Andy Brass will flip this truck almost immediately. So you can see where the rear wheel steer is mandatory in these trucks, but only use it when you really need it.
Well, they're set to go. Bigfoot, Andy Brass, the final adjustment to his helmet and collar. All the safety equipment on board. These are incredibly safe machines. And there's Bennett Clark, Clydesdale, on the near side. The far side is Bigfoot.
Certainly Bigfoot has the big reputation, but it was Bennett Clark who left first just by a second or so, but already the power of the foot has erased that lead.
Bigfoot gets to the corner first, starts in the turn, the four-wheel steer working to Bigfoot's advantage. Bennett Clark trying to catch up now, gets a bit off the course, misses the last line of cars. Bigfoot comes home with a victory and goes into the final round. So Andy Brass just cruising his way through the race here at the Houston Astrodome. There's Clydesdale too. Let's take a look. Here's the start. Clydesdale, Bennett Clark on the near side, Bigfoot, Andy Brass on the far side. They come off pretty much together. Bigfoot almost immediately starts to build an advantage as the power of that Ford engine pays off. Now, we're looking at Clydesdale going to the turn, and the back end comes around, but he can't get it straightened out quite quick enough to use any advantage on the straightaway, and then does a bad job coming over the hump and gets pointed the whole wrong direction, and the victory belongs to Bigfoot.
Well, Andy Brassball definitely picking up the pace on that semifinal victory. Probably his quickest time of the night around the course. And, of course, that means he's in the final round against Awesome Kong. Great job, Andy.
Thank you, Steve.
You know, that Awesome Kong truck looks tough. You're going to have to beat him on finesse. He might have more power than you do.
Yeah, Awesome's got to run a lot more power and Mark, a new driver, you know. I was kind of watching a little bit tonight, hoping that maybe we can just, you know, squeeze him enough and he just messes up.
I'll tell you, if you could execute another turn like you just did there, you'll whip him, I think.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get fastest run tonight out of this. It seemed like a pretty good run.
Looks like it does, too. See you in the final. Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, Steve, Andy Brass is going to need some finesse because Awesome Kong had a faster run in that semifinal round. So let's take a look at the pairings for the Monster Truck Final. It's a Chevrolet versus Ford shootout. The Ford Bigfoot versus the Chevy Awesome Kong. And they're changing the weight in the decision maker because we've got more pulling coming up. It's the two-wheel drive trucks, and they're next. And ready for the 6,200-pound two-wheel drive truck pull-off. Yes, indeed, 4 different competitors have made it to a full pull, and we've got another pull-off in store for us. It should be some serious competition. You're looking at Lige McLean. The truck is rowdy as he backs up to hook. He is the first in this pull-off, which should provide us with some terrific excitement. Now, what are these trucks? Well, there's some wonderfully creative machines in this particular category, and earlier Steve Evans had an opportunity to look at some, and he picked this mongrel.
It may be called Spike, but it is anything but a dog. In fact, to my way of thinking, this particular two-wheel drive truck may be the finest example of the class on the grounds here at the Astrodome. It was hand-built by Mark and Bill Humphrey of Ohio, driven tonight by Mark Hare. Let's have a good look at it, starting at the very front. Now, that is the ultimate in pulling power plants, a 600 cubic inch Keith Black Hemi with a huge 1471 GMC supercharger. That will make around 1,400 horsepower. Bolted to the back of the engine, inside the safety bell housing, is a Crower Glide clutch controlled by this pedal. Now, this pair of brake pedals, they are really for steering, okay? They're individual disc brakes. With the front wheels off the ground most of the time, you could chuck the steering wheel. You drive it really with your feet or steer it with your feet. Now, here between my legs, you see these 2 chrome shafts. Now, they control the handmade transmission. By moving these selector levers to different positions, they have a choice of 3 gear ratios depending on track conditions. The power is applied right here with this hand throttle. Now, as I said, just behind the seat, you'll see the transmission made by the Humphrey brothers, hand fabricated. Just behind the transmission, and this is unusual for any of these pullers, is the inline starter. They don't have to connect the starter to the supercharger to fire it up. And you see 36 volts of battery power. And in the center is a handmade aluminum shaft covers. They even fabricated that huge rear end themselves, as well as the polished fuel tank that holds the alcohol fuel. This is one incredible truck. In fact, the Humphrey brothers even had the fiberglass S10 Chevy body manufactured and sell this body to other pullers and a lot of these other components. All in all, this is just about one of the nicest turned out pullers in any class that we've had the privilege to look at.
Well, Spike is pretty. Unfortunately, the machine and driver Mark Hare didn't make it into this pull-off. Only 265 feet on a 300-foot track. We're in pull-off, 4 different machines on the line.
And a little blow-by coming from the motor of Lige McLean. It's generally not serious, but it might rob you of a couple of horsepower, maybe just enough to make the difference. We know he's capable of a full pull at the previous sled with him. That's how he got to the pull-off. Now let's see as he eases into the power. This track much damper than it was earlier for the tractors.
Lige McLean, the machine is rowdy. Front end riding down, nice and even, keeping on the track. May not have gotten the weight transfer that he was hoping for as he finally grinds to a stop about 225 feet. I'm sure that's disappointing. 225.66, probably a great deal shorter than he would have liked. Let's take a look at this run once again. He comes off the line, his wheel spins a little bit slow, not able to get the front end up in the air, and the weight now begins to pull forward, and the engine and machine begins to labor. He tries to work the throttle just a bit, but it's not good enough. 225 feet is all he can pull, but still, for the moment, that's the benchmark. Steve?
Well, I don't know. The way it was kind of popping and banging, 225 feet, what do you think?
Well, I fattened the motor up. I noticed when I made the full pull that it was kind of cutting out on the end down here, and I thought it was a little lean, but maybe there's something else wrong. Maybe it's a fuel pump.
Well, they're not all exactly trucks. This is made to look like a Ford Thunderbird. It belongs to John Heilman. Now, remember, John won the 7,200-pound tractor class earlier, and he's back with this marvelous creation.
In the tractor class, everybody enjoyed a surplus of power, especially at the starting line area. With these single-engine machines, that's not necessarily so. They won't ease into them quite like they do the big multi-engine tractor. Sometimes you just got to slam it open and go for a ride.
The chains all hooked up now on that Thunderbird. John Heilman has already proven himself to be a master. 225 feet is the distance on this pull-off, and that really shouldn't prove to be a challenge because McLean had his problems on the first run. This is the second run of 4 in the pull-off.
John Heilman, as we said before, the consummate pro. Now you see the fuel injectors right there as he starts to feed the power to it. He is taking it pretty easy right at the mark. Paul, it must be slick.
Worried about digging into that crack or getting the back end spinning around too much. Keeps the machine well balanced. Now the front end begins to rise. Just before the end of the course, it begins to bounce. And, of course, that immediately spells the end of the run.
But that kind of front end lift ball can be beneficial. Right at that end, it gives you a little weight transfer, maybe a little more traction for those last few rugged inches.
John Heilman, 240.84 feet. So there is the new mark to beat. As Rowdy's distance goes away, let's take a look at John Heilman's run in the Golden Thunderbird. He keeps that front end pretty well balanced in the early part of the course, and then it comes way up in the air, takes a little bit of a bounce, but Heilman uses it to his advantage, brings it back down, and comes in at 240.8.
Okay, Paul, as you see, we've got a new leader, 240 feet, 15 feet further.
It was a good run. The car's running good tonight. And that's a good run. I don't know what else you can say about it. The run was good. It helped in and went good.
You know, I kept waiting. When is he going to get on the throttle? When finally is squeezed in? Gosh, it's got to be hard to do that.
We'll have to study some videos and the tack graph recorder again, but it was somewhere around 75 to 100 feet before it turned it all on.
You think it'll stand?
I think it's got a real good chance. I really do.
Okay, hang around with us. We'll watch.
Thank you.
Well, the machine is serious business, and that's what Tim Mikowski is looking forward to. We'll be back with his pull, the third of 4, right after this.
We're back at the Houston Astrodome for the TNT Redmen All-American. I'm Steve Evans along with Paul Page, and we're still involved in the wheel-standing truck pulling action, a pull-off actually. 4 qualified, 2 have already gone down, and John Heilman has this crowd's attention. He is the #1 man so far, and we've talked about beautiful and unusual cars. Take a look at this, Paul Page.
Tim Mikowski, the machine is called Serious Business. The mark at the moment is 240.8 feet. It belongs to John Heilman. But here's a man that would really like to power up and get past that distance. And he certainly is capable. But look at this. You couldn't ask for a prettier machine. Totally thought out, well executed. What a wonderful piece of engineering. As the power comes up, the weight on the decision maker rolls forward, and Serious Business is on his run. Well balanced. Look at the front end. Boy, he keeps that thing in perfect shape now. Yanks it up into the air at the end of the run, and he pulls 259.
Well, John Heilman, what do you think? Timothy McClaskey had a nice pull.
Well, he's got an automatic transmission. He's a super driver. He just put it on me. I didn't think he could do it.
Yeah, not by much. Beth, you're right. He sure did.
Yeah, he just got me a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised to have you number one. I think I should be number one, me number two. We're looking for, I think that's going to hold for number one. I don't think those guys can touch him.
You're as excited for him as you were for yourself.
Well, we spent the last 2 weeks in Texas with these guys, you know. I'm a Buckeye, but these Texans aren't all bad.
No, I'll say they're not. Great job. Okay, Timothy McClaskey takes over number one. We'll talk to him in a second, Paul.
Well, a Serious Business with one picture-perfect run. Let's take a look at it here. He balances that front end just perfectly. Now, this is the pull-off, and the distance to beat was 240 feet. He drops the front end back down. Notice how he keeps the wheels cocked, helping to keep the front end in balance, and if it does come down, it'll take a bite in the direction that he would like to see. But Tim Michalski, 259 feet, takes the lead in the pull-off of the two-wheel drive trucks.
Well, Timmy, you took over the lead on the pull-off. You said you might do it.
Well, it was a good run. Got one more to knock down, and maybe we'll have a victory.
Well, jump out here and let's watch them together.
Well, Tim told us before it all started he really thought he had a chance. Now, he's looking terrific at 259 feet and only one puller left to go. And that's this man, Dan Walsh. The machine is the Irish Challenger. Bright Kelly green hydraulic lifts that lower the top down. He makes the final adjustments. He's had a chance now to study the course for 3 other runs. He watched exactly where Serious Business set up the start of the run and made that now record run of 259 feet, which is, of course, the mark to beat. Let's go to the far end once again, and Steve Evans.
Okay, Timmy, you're leading the pull-off at 259. You've got the Irish machine up there. Now, what do you think?
He could beat us. He's got a good shot at it.
At what point of the pull might you know if he was going to be short? Can you tell from the beginning?
Well, he has a lot of power. He has a little more power than us, but if he's wide ain't rolling pretty good by 150, we might get him.
All right, John Heilman told us he thought your automatic transmission was an advantage on this track.
It works pretty good.
Yeah, I'll say it did.
Well, we just got a few secrets.
Dan Walsh on the line. The Irish Challenger backs her up. Gets ready to hook her to the decision maker. This is the final run of this pull-off in the two-wheel drive trucks. Can he beat 259 feet?
We saw Dan Walsh earlier in the multi-engine tractor class, much like John Heilman. He has 2 machines. You've got to travel the circuit anyway. You've got a great big 18-wheeler. You have a chance to double up your pulling income if you've got 2 machines.
Well, this is the second machine, and he's looking for success here. He tightens up the chain. The crowd begins to quiet down just a bit. They know that this is the run that will make the difference. Can he challenge Serious Business, 259 feet? It's been flashed on the scoreboard. Everybody watches now. The visor comes down. The revs begin to come up, and the pull begins. And it looks good from the start. He's digging well. At the far end, Tim is watching. Can he get it done?
All right. Timmy, you know it even before the sled came to a stop.
Well, he just didn't have no more momentum going his way. He's slowing down too much. Starting to hop a little bit.
Well, congratulations. It was a tough class, and a beautiful old girl got the job done.
Thank you.
All right, Timothy McClaskey, he is your class champion. Game effort by everybody.
Well, Tim had to sit there and watch as 2 others took a shot at it, but still it was 259.08 feet that held up, and Tim Michalski in Serious Business takes home the win in the two-wheel drive trucks. There's the final results there, but action is not over because Bigfoot has just made his appearance at the bottom of the ramp.
ready for the final round of Monster Trucks, ready to face Awesome Kong. We'll be back right after this. Right, the script for this Monster Truck final. They couldn't have done any better. Awesome Kong, the Chevrolet, close. Bigfoot on the far side. The green light winks on. Bigfoot jumps to an early advantage, but Awesome Kong catches up on the first straight. They come to the corner together, side by side as they come to the first bump. And there is Bigfoot coming off a little bit ahead. Now, powering once again. Awesome Kong really flies. They touch wheels. They touch. They're still going for the line. And we don't have any idea who won it. Boy, is that close.
Nobody in the Astrodome, including the drivers involved, know who won it. Well, as TNT is reviewing their finish line camera in order to declare a winner, let's take a look at one of the finest, no, the finest Monster Truck final we have ever had a chance to enjoy. And each driver had a different strategy for the U-turn. With the longer wheelbase, Brandt took Awesome Kong wide.
And that lined him up straight so that he could take the final jumps. Now, let's look at Mark Brandt and the Awesome Kong here way, way up in the air. The officials are still reviewing videotape, trying to decide who won this race. Mark Brandt almost nosed her in and then bounced off the side of Bigfoot. Now, let's take a look. Different angle, same situation. Awesome Kong bounces high into the air, gets against Bigfoot. Now here comes the official announcement, and it's Awesome Kong. Mark Brandt, the rookie, wins it. An incredible victory over the longtime champion Bigfoot and Andy Brass. Hey, he's one happy man. Look at him do his little victory boogie here. Mark Brandt, the winner.
This place is bedlam, Paul. Mark Brandt, as you might imagine, doing a little Rocky imitation. And who could blame him? Unbelievable contest. Listen to him. Enjoy it.
Thank you. Oh, man. Oh, wow. Thank you, Lord. Oh, I never done so much praying in my life. Oh.
You were a tick behind after the turn.
Yeah, Awesome Kong has just got the power. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Awesome Kong. I was along for the ride, and darn, I forgot my blindfold. Oh, man, that one scared me.
I tell you, it scared everybody in the Astrodome. Contact was almost made.
Yeah? I have nothing more to say other than that Awesome Kong is the nation's #1 monster truck. And it is solely that truck. That is one gorgeous truck.
I have one more thing to say. Great job.
Thank you.
Well, victory is sweet. Rookie Mark Brandt, his first time in this wonderful new Chevrolet-powered machine. Victory over the Ford and Bigfoot, but you can bet Bigfoot will be coming back. Congratulations to all of our winners here at the Houston Astrodome. This is Paul Page for Steve Evans. So long from Texas.
The executive producer for American Sports Cavalcade is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John B.